Hi, we're going to be talking about the latest products and news from KNX today. I'd like to welcome Michael Critchfield, who is the ETS product manager at the KNX Association. We're going to learn about the latest changes and updates. We're going to stay up to date on the all-in-one KNX tool that integrates 8,000 plus products offered by more than 500 manufacturers in the world of smart homes and buildings. This session covers user interface improvements, support for KNX RF Multi Devices, the usage of KNX Serial Number for assignment of individual address, changes to the search folders, and the extension of collaboration features. All right, Michael, let's hear from you.
Welcome. My name is Michael Critchfield. I'm the product manager for ETS, and I'm very excited to show you what we've done for the upcoming ETS release. Let's jump right into ETS6. You can see here, this is the upcoming version 6.6.1. So ETS6 is starting. You can see the licensing workflow, the sign up. This worked all perfectly well, very quickly. And you're now left here with the startup screen of ETS6. As you can see, I have no local projects myself, but I am in collaboration mode in ETS6. So you can see here, I'm sharing my archive with other users. And luckily for us here now, I have a beautiful project that I can now restore to my local projects. My colleagues are done working on it. So I can take it over now, moving the project to my local projects, and I'm locking the archived copy for my colleagues. So they know now I'm working on this project. I click OK. The project is being copied over. Of course, it asks me for the password because it's a secure project. While the copying is done, we see this dialog, and then after that, you can see that I have the project then in my local storage. Okay, good. This is confirmation dialog. So now you can see I have the project in my local, and I still have the version in the archive. This check mark up here, this tells me that this is the same. This version is synchronized with the version in the archive. Also down here, I can see with the lock icon that this project is locked for everyone else. So my colleagues can directly see that I have now use of this project. I'm working on it. So we don't have contradicting changes in the end. So I will now open this project. Of course, enter the password. And then here we are. So you might see in this project now that it's opened, you might see some differing changes, some minor details that you notice back from the already released 6.1 version of ETS. What comes to mind is maybe something that we were asked from our user base to re-implement is a closing button for this panel selector. So we have the beautiful panel selector here where I can directly within each panel change the content of this panel. But what we now reintroduced for ETS 6.1.1 is a closing button. So I can change, of course, here from one panel type to another. So in the panel selector, I change to the catalog. But because I have only one panel open, this panel closing button is deactivated. If I would now change back to buildings and I add, for example, another panel, for example, I try the catalog again as a separate panel. Now you can see I can close this panel directly. We got this feedback from the user base, and naturally we try to follow up. We try to deliver the best ETS we can for you. So we hope that this will help in your workflows, closing panels, opening panels. What we've also done is improve the overall performance of this panel selector. And what you might see here, I'm closing this now just for visibility. What you might see here also is that we've introduced a new type or we renamed the dynamic folders. We are renaming them to what they really are. They are search folders. And you might see one of these search folders is a new addition. This is the cabinets. This is a default folder that will add all the cabinets that you are using in this project. So in this project here, I see I have 3 cabinets, one for the main circuitry, one for the heating in the ground floor, and one for the heating in the upper floor. And with this, I can even open this further and I can directly see the devices in these cabinets. So I can directly work within this search folder. What we've also done, so if I now go, for example, to one of these devices, I'm opening the main cabinet. I go to a dimming actuator. And you can see here now, I see all the group objects because I've selected a device. And what might jump to eye directly is that we have here now the number of items in this list. This was something also that we had changed in the previous version, and our users commented to us that the number of entries is very valuable in their day-to-day work. So we sat down with our designers and developers, and we figured out that this sort of icon pill design of the numbers is actually more beneficial than a status bar in the bottom. So what we've now done is you have on each tab, you have here this pill icon. But what's even better is, in order to allow counting, we have also allowed that once you start selecting more than one entry, you see up here in the pill icon also the number of selections. This might be a big help to users working with big numbers of items, big selections. And what we've also added is this new column, because what we want to achieve in ETS is that the users can focus on functions more than on individual group addresses. And with these functions, of course, we need to emphasize on these functions. We need to make sure that the users see the use of the functions rather than the use of group addresses. The first step towards that, it'll be a longer process, but the first step towards this is now visible here in this new column. You can see here on this dimming actuator, I have 22 group objects, and a number of them are already linked to a group address. But not only that, you can see here the first and the last one here, these are directly linked to group addresses. But even better, you can see all the remaining ones, they are linked to functions. For example, these 15, they are linked to these 2 functions. But if I look at now, for example, these 5 objects, you can see they are all linked to the same function in my dining room, to the dining table lamp. So this is the function, and all these group addresses are included in that function. And this function, just for context, is based in my dining room. So what you can also see now is that it's maybe a minor detail, but we were informed that the behavior of the checkboxes is sometimes confusing to users. So what we've done now is we changed the behavior, we changed the design of these checkboxes. Let me just go into a parameter dialog maybe. So here you can still see, of course, all the parameters like before. Going back here. So if I now re-navigate within my project, I leave the cabinets. I want to go directly into the tree of the building. So I open the building itself. I navigate, for example, to the first floor. And now you see here, I have a number of rooms. In these rooms, I have, for example, devices, of course, and I have also functions again. So you can see here in the tree, if I open a room, I have here a number of functions and I have the devices. What's the benefit here is that with the functions in the room, I can directly see what functions, there it is again, are supported in this room. So I have here a ceiling light, I have some effect lights, some night light, and so on. And you can see here the group addresses are directly in the functions. This is not new, but what is new is now if I go to a device that is using this function, you can again see here, okay, I have linked to this object, I have linked this function. So I'm directly aware what function this button or this group objects, basically, I should say, what group objects are linked to this. During the editing of this project, especially when I'm taking over a project from a colleague, from a bigger team, I have an easier way of getting into the project. If I now add a new device from the catalog, I'm switching to the catalog, or actually I will add the catalog as a separate panel. You can see here now in the catalog the number of, or the many KNX manufacturers. So if I scroll down, you can tell there is a new feature here, which is a minor detail, of course, but it makes the finding of individual manufacturers just a little bit easier. There's so-called manufacturer icons. So I can go to one of the manufacturers. I can find my device that I'm looking for. I'm looking for this secure device, and I'm adding it to one of my cabinets. I'll add it directly to the main cabinet. I don't have to navigate to the cabinet in my building. I can directly do it from this search folder. It's in here. The device is being downloaded. This is a device that I've just purchased. I have not yet downloaded it, so ETS is now downloading it. I have not yet unpacked the device, so I don't have the device certificate, but of course ETS offers me to scan the device certificate code now. I'll do that later. So now you can see here, this device is in this cabinet, and I'll add it to the line that's in my cabinet, and it's ETS is directly assigning it the next available individual address. What we've also done now is in the groups tab on the right hand side. This was something that was very welcome to the users from the last release, and we just have made some improvements here in terms of the searching. So if I search across the functions, so I'm switching to not the group addresses, but I'm switching to the functions, and I can directly enter the term Licht, which is German for light. Of course, the search function searches across all the functions and shows me all the accompanying group addresses. So now, if I'm, for example, working in a team where I'm the one dealing with all the lighting and another colleague is dealing with all the heating, I can, with this, more easy focus on the light. So I have now here available all my functions. I see which group addresses are included, can directly start using this. Yeah. When it comes to the installation and the commissioning of an installation, we have also made a number of improvements in the diagnostics features. So I can switch to that panel type, and you can see I've used the panel selector again. So very quickly, I'm closing this. And what we've done here is a number of, let's say, upgrades, a number of extensions. In here now, you can check for devices in the programming mode, not just the ones that are directly reachable, not just the ones that are in a specific line or segment, but you can also check in the whole installation. This comes with some within caveat maybe. This might take some time, and you need to be aware of that. But also you can stop once you have, let's say, found the device that you're looking for. Once you've got the research result, you can stop the search. What is also extended is the search for segments here. So I can do a line scan, not just on the backbone level, not just on the line level, but if this project were to have segments, I can also search directly on the segment level. So overall, we have with the next release, with this version, with the 6.1.1, we are introducing a number of new features, but also we are introducing system extensions. So this new version of ETS, it will support RF Multi Devices, so the new generation of RF devices. And with these new devices and with these new system extensions, ETS, of course, needs to support these devices, but also their new and current workflows. We've done that with this new version, and as we are very quickly progressing to the release in just a number of weeks, I'm very happy to show this to you already today. I will close this project now because the day is over. I'm closing my project. I'm finished with my work. I'm closing the project. Of course, ETS is creating a restore point. And you can see now that the project in the archive, it is still locked. I locked this for my colleague before I went into the project, but I made changes in the project. And so now I can see here that the ETS tells me that the project that I have locally is newer than the version that I have in the archive. We know exactly what we did. We can see here the device now has 66 devices. The project has 66 devices, and the project in the archive only has 65 devices. But perhaps I did some more changes, and I want to review that. I can click on this here. This tells me that I have local changes. The local version is newer. And the archived version, this was last saved also today, but earlier this morning by my colleague, which is coincidentally also me. But this project is currently locked for use only by me. What I can do here is I can simply synchronize the changes to the archive. So my colleagues have the latest version of the project, but I can also compare versions. I need to enter the password. And then this dialog, this comparing dialog opens. I can see this now because ETS keeps track of all the changes that I make. So you can see here, I added a device to the main cabinet at 8:50 and 16 seconds past. And then I added this device to the main segment. If I now have a look at the other entries that are common between these two versions, I see there's 67 entries in this log. I can see all 67 entries because I have the project tracing app. The project tracing app allows me to see more than 10, so basically all the history in a project. And you can see here there's a lot of history, but what is relevant to me in my daily work now is really just the differences. I determine now that I'm happy with these differences, so I'll simply do backup to archive. I don't need to keep the local project. This is by default, this is unselected because the assumption is I'm done with working on this project because I'm in collaboration mode. So I removed the local project from my desk. So I'm done. And what is happening now, ETS is packing the project again. It's synchronizing the changes to the archive so that I can go home. My colleagues can continue working on the then unlocked project. Perfect. So you can see now I have no more work on my desk here. The archive has the latest version. It is unlocked, so my colleagues know they can continue working. And if I go into here, also I see the same tile view, so I can select. I only have one project here, so I can make some. I can restore a certain version from here, and then yeah, I'm done with my work. I will finish today closing ETS, and I look forward to the upcoming release. I look forward to sharing this version with you just in a very few weeks. Of course, you can always reach me via email on our website, knx.org.
Thank you very much for that interesting update on ETS6 Pro. Michael, I'm glad to have you join us for answering any Q&A. And we have one question already from Thomas in the audience regarding the ETS6. Did you improve the performance in comparison, says Thomas, the ETS5 still need, in comparison to the ETS5, the ETS6 still needs a lot of time to link the group addresses. So it's a question regarding performance. Michael?
Yes. Thanks, Bob. Indeed, we have made a very big number of improvements, especially for the performance of ETS6. And like I said before, I'm very much looking forward to our user base getting access to ETS 6.1.1, and so they can also experience those improvements.
Okay. And in your opinion, the performance of the ETS6 should or should not need more time than ETS5 to link the group addresses?
Well, so the performance, definitely not. We have for sure made big improvements here, by a magnitude even. What of course we must always remember is that those improvements, they go hand in hand with changes in the software, in the user interface, and those changes as a user I need to get used to. And so there's a learning curve always included. But we hope we made the right strides here this time, and yeah.
I have another question that's just regarding the value of the use when you have KNX Virtual.
Yes.
If you could mention that.
For sure. KNX Virtual for us has several benefits, has several use cases. For one, of course, KNX Virtual allows you to make experiences with KNX without investing in your own devices at first when you are beginning experimenting with KNX. You migrate from the eCampus to KNX Virtual, and eventually you start investing in your own installations. You start building up your own setup. But then KNX Virtual allows you to do testing remotely. And so that's where Virtual, together with ETS6, really becomes valuable.
Thank you, Michael. So it seems to me, here we are on ETS6 and Pro version. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems to me it's like a living software that you're constantly getting feedback. How important is the feedback from the users in shaping the software? And is this all? Is it done, so to speak, or what else is happening?
Well, KNX is always on the move, and I feel we are never done with it. I mean, we are now celebrating versions ETS6, right? So there have already been some versions. We are now looking forward to the next version, next release, but we are never done. There's always user feedback, and we try to take that feedback very seriously. But what we also realize is that the user base of ETS is incredibly diverse. Every user has different expectations, and we just try to find the best mix. But we realized also with the last release, we unfortunately missed a closing button. And there was heavy user feedback, and that, of course, we take very seriously. And we brought back the closing button. And so, yes, feedback is important, and we never run out of it, luckily.
Well, that's actually one of the strengths of the KNX community. I think their ability to communicate and to work together is really helpful in that. Yeah. We have another question from Miranda and another question for Michael. So we're going to have to go fast enough so we don't lose this, but I'll take Michael first. Will the export of a product from the catalog be reintroduced in ETS 6.11?
Well, no. And we have a good reason for that. The reason is that the manufacturers trust us with handling their product data through the online catalog. And we've had a lot of issues, or basically our user base has had a lot of issues with exported product files that have then been amended and changed. And so by limiting the export, we try and we succeed to make sure that the user is working with original manufacturer information.
Okay. And the other question from Fernando, what criteria is there for selecting which older version of the application programs get included in the catalog? He says he found it difficult to find apps for older devices without having to go back to manufacturers' websites.
Okay, trying to read between the lines. This is, if I understand it right, this is controlled by the manufacturer. If we are talking about application programs for certain hardware versions of KNX devices. But we can clarify in the chat or via email for sure.
Okay, I think that is the case of what Fernando was getting at.
Okay.
You know, and again, I think your answer is that the manufacturers have control of that.
Yes, yeah.
So we should pass it on to the manufacturers. What about products from manufacturers that don't exist anymore? So the question is referring to companies, a couple companies which I guess are no longer there.
Yeah. Well, there's discontinued products, and there's members or KNX manufacturers that are no longer KNX manufacturers. But when a product has been certified, it is supported by ETS as much as we can, let's say, guarantee that, which goes pretty far with our backwards compatibility. But if a manufacturer chooses not to share the KNX product information anymore, there's only so much we can do either.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.